For the record, I am not.
Welcome back to the channel, folks, and buckle up, because today's courtroom showdown is one of the most chaotic sovereign citizen meltdowns we've ever seen. From the very first moment, this defendant walks into court convinced he has unlocked some secret legal cheat code, a right to travel, quantum grammar, and a belief that spelling his name in bizarre ways gives him diplomatic immunity from traffic laws. Spoiler, it doesn't. What makes this case particularly fascinating is the clash between fantasy and reality. On one side, you have a judge who remains calm, patient, and laser-focused on the law. On the other side, you have a man who believes that simply declaring "I am not a person" is enough to erase a traffic stop and cancel his responsibilities as a driver. Throughout this hearing, he's going to ramble about contracts, citizenship, canceled licenses, and imaginary rules he thinks the court must obey. But every time he tries to escape accountability, the judge gently, but firmly, brings him back to reality. And if you've ever wondered how sovereign citizen arguments hold up when a judge patiently allows them to speak their piece, today you'll see it firsthand. There are contradictions, emotional spirals, and moments where even the judge has no idea what the defendant is talking about. But there's also a powerful lesson here: the law doesn't bend just because someone says magic words. By the time we reach the ruling, the tension is sky high, and the ending is incredibly satisfying. Stick with me through each twist, because this one is a ride.
He said the person, I am not a person, so I'm trying to figure out.
Do you have a question for for Corporal Spidell? Corporal Spidell, I'm sorry, Corporal.
That's what the officer now.
Do you have a question for the corporal?
No, I don't have a question.
Do you have any questions for corporal?
Not for court. I have a question for
You have a question for whom?
the court.
Okay, you don't actually get to ask the court anything unless you have a motion that you'd like to file. The court doesn't really take up any questions at this point. We're in trial. So at this point, if you would like to cross-examine the witness, you may do so now.
No, I don't have any questions for the officer.
Okay, so the witness is free to step down. Will the defendant like to call any witnesses?
Speak for myself.
You would like to take the stand as a witness?
Yes.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you give will be the truth and the entire truth?
Yes.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
For the record, my name is Roman Brown. A living man. You said spell it.
Please spell it. Yes.
Capital R, lowercase O, M, lowercase m, lowercase n, lowercase n, capital B, lowercase r, lowercase o.
From the start, the judge is trying to keep this on track, but what we're seeing is a classic sovereign citizen diversion tactic: avoid answering, avoid asking, and try to redirect the courtroom into a philosophical debate about personhood. This is where their ideology always collapses. The judge isn't asking him to define what a person is in his belief system, she's simply asking whether he has questions for the witness. But instead of participating in the normal trial process, he keeps trying to create his own rules, as if courtroom procedure is optional. This moment perfectly demonstrates why sovereign citizen defenses fail. Courts deal in facts, not metaphysics. And the defendant is already signaling that he won't engage with the actual evidence. The judge is being extraordinarily patient, but you can already tell she knows exactly what kind of case this is going to be. If anything, this early confusion foreshadows how wildly off track he's about to go.
From the podium, as you are representing yourself, and you are now the witness as well as the acting on your own behalf as your own attorney. So you may proceed.
Yes. So I was traveling, like, I'm a non-citizen national, for the record. I am not a United States citizen. I am not a resident in the state. I'm from I live in the United States of America. I was traveling. I didn't commit any crimes. The officer asked me for documentation. I gave him the documentations that were valid. The driver's license, he unlawfully detained me. I did not consent to any searches or seizures. He unlawfully violated my rights by going through my private property. He in the documents that he's brought up were like you just stated, they were not valid and they were canceled. So like I stated before, I was traveling. I'm not a driver. I reserve all of my rights.
This spelling routine is peak sovereign citizen theater. They genuinely believe that if they alter capitalization or intentionally misspell their names, they can detach themselves from legal responsibility. In reality, all they're doing is confusing themselves while the court patiently waits for them to finish the performance. What's impressive is the judge's restraint. She doesn't mock him, doesn't confront the absurdity, she simply continues the process. This is also where we see the defendant expose a major flaw in his strategy. He wants to represent himself as a living man, but also wants to testify as a witness. In real legal practice, these roles require clarity. But sovereign citizens treat courtrooms like stages, and each title becomes part of their self-invented legal mythology. Unfortunately for him, none of it will matter once the judge applies the actual law. Here's where the sovereign citizen narrative really kicks into gear. He claims he's a non-citizen national, that he was merely traveling, and that the officer violated his rights by asking for documentation. But notice the contradiction. He admits he handed over documentation he claims later wasn't valid. That alone tells the court everything it needs to know. He also keeps invoking consent, as if not giving permission nullifies the officer's legal authority. But traffic laws don't operate on consent, they operate on public safety. Whether someone identifies as a driver or a traveler doesn't change the fact that operating a motor vehicle on public roads requires licensing. His entire testimony is built around redefining common words to create a reality where he can't be held responsible. But courts don't rule based on personal definitions, they rule based on statutes. And every statute in this situation is pointing in one direction, straight.
I reserve all of my rights under UCC 1-308.
I'm sorry, UCC, I need to be able to hear you clearly. You reserve all of your rights under
UCC 1-308.
Okay.
I'm not set this offer. I'm not consent to any proceedings. I'm not a United States citizen.
Mr. Brown, I'm going to stop you right now. You can have a seat.
By the defendant's own admission, he canceled his own license. He did not have a valid license on May 12, 2023. He was not able to produce one, nor did he have a valid title, nor was he able to produce one. Your Honor, I believe you have a copy of the MCL code, so I won't go through reciting them all. But it is required in the state of Michigan that if you are on the roadways, that you must have a valid driver's license. It's also required that you're in your motor vehicle. You must have a valid title to that vehicle and registration. Finally, if you're given a lawful order from a police officer, you must obey those commands if they're a lawful order. The fact of the matter is that the defendant, Mr. Roman Brown, did not produce those things when he was stopped on May 12th, and he refused to comply with the lawful orders given by Corporal Spidel. Therefore, the people would ask that this honorable court find the defendant guilty on all three counts. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Closing arguments from Mr. Brown.
This is supposed to be the moment where he defends himself, the crucial turning point where he argues why the evidence doesn't support the charges. Instead, he immediately derails into irrelevant grievances and unrelated claims. The judge gives him an open door to challenge the prosecution, to point out inconsistencies, or to provide an actual legal argument. But he uses that opportunity to talk about speeding tickets that aren't even part of this case and undefined lawful order.
For today.
For a lawful order to be submitted, it has to be a crime being committed. There was no crime being committed. Like I stated before, I was traveling in my automobile, my private conveyance. I was not driving. I am not a driver or an employee like Uber or someone that's transporting goods or property. I'm not a driver. I was traveling from point A to point B. My automobile I had an issue with my automobile. It was stored. I was taking it to get it serviced. I was traveling there. I didn't commit any crime now. Well, like I stated, a lawful order for it to be a lawful order, it has to be a crime present. And I didn't commit any crimes. I did everything that he requested. I gave him all of the documents that were legit on my behalf. He went in and unlawfully violated my rights by going into my private my private property and getting any information, the documents that he did get. And I didn't present those because they weren't valid. It wasn't they were canceled. So I don't want a contract. I do not consent to any contract. I don't want a contract. I have the right to travel free. I'm a non-citizen national. I am not a United States citizen. I am not a resident. I do not reside in any fictitious address in the United States. I'm a national for the United States of America.
At this point, the meltdown begins. Notice how his argument shifts from legal claims to emotional pleas. He starts talking about kidnapping, harm, and being wronged without providing a single fact that supports those accusations. Sovereign citizens often escalate like this when they realize the court isn't buying the script. It's not that the judge is denying him rights, she's giving him ample time to speak, but none of his statements tie to the actual charges. He demands that the judge recite her oath, another common sovereign citizen tactic meant to challenge legitimacy. But courts do not need to prove their authority to defendants. The authority exists because of law, not because someone asks for verification. This is the moment where it becomes clear he's not arguing a case, he's desperately clinging to
I did anything wrong. I'm getting pulled over and took out of my car. That's like kidnapping. I wasn't like, this is crazy. This is.
Are you done?
This is Lisa Precinct. Purposely.
I'm sorry, can you speak that?
Lisa Precinct.
I don't know that I understood that.
This court is operating as a Nisi Precinct.
What is that?
Nisi Precinct.
Don't repeat the words. Tell me what that means.
Okay. This is a notice of Nisi Precinct. A demand for judicial notice of Rule Lacey. Within a Rule Lacey's court. Notice is hereby given on August 6th of 2024 at 8:30 a.m. or soon the matters can be held in courtroom of the above entitled court. Remove the court to take judicial notice of the following. This is a demand for judicial notice of Rule Nisi within a Nisi, this court, by being part of the Nisi Precinct Court system, must follow Rule Lacey, which is a quote, a Rule Lacey which all becomes operated in final unless caused by shown against it. Since the court can require and fail performance which is only allowed in the court, which is enforced some type of contract. It is Hornwood law that all contracts are either equitable or missing for enforcement purposes. He's based upon the foregoing, this court must take judicial notice that this court is merely enforcing some type of contract that will allow rule 18 to apply. Therefore, the court should dismiss this matter and the prosecutor does not produce, if the prosecutor does not produce content on proof with omission, evidence that the accused was involved in a actual being regulated with admissible evidence that invokes the authority of the court. Hearsay or presumption will not be permitted since this is a criminal trial which the accused justly demands due process secure to him by the
Is crucial because the judge methodically walks through every piece of evidence, calmly dismantling the defendant's fantasy arguments. She identifies the expired plates, the lack of registration, the ignored lawful commands, and most damning, his own admission that he canceled his license. That one statement alone seals the case. While the defendant is talking about contracts, sovereignty, and imaginary jurisdictions, the judge is dealing in hard facts, expired documents, non-compliance, and confirmed records from the state database.
Corporal Spadell, who made the stop on May 11th, 2023. The court has also heard testimony from the defendant, Mr. Roman Brown. As it relates, I guess I will start with, one moment. It's Roman Levon Brown. I wanted to make sure I have his full name for the record. Roman Levon Brown. The court has heard testimony that Corporal made the stop on 5/11 or May 11, 2023 in the city of Detroit in the county of Wayne. Corporal Spadell identified Mr. Roman Levon Brown as the defendant sitting in the courtroom in the blue blazer. Corporal, as well as the evidence provided by the people, showed in the video cam that the corporal made the stop based on a expiration of a plate. The color initially caught his attention, indicating that the plate had been expired, giving him probable cause to pull over the black Chevy. He later verified in the lien system that the vehicle had not been registered since 2022. Again, the stop was made 5/11 or May 11th, 2023.
Rely on objective evidence, not personal declarations. It's like watching someone argue the rules of Monopoly during a real criminal trial. The judge's analysis is thorough, concise, and completely unaffected by his rambling theories.
I said, yes, ma'am.
Okay, have a seat. So it is quite disappointing to me that not only Corporal Spadell had to spend quite some time with the defendant in this matter on a driving while license suspended, driving while unlicensed, driving while license improper, I should say, and a registration. The time and resources that it took for this incident, I can only imagine how many laws were actually being violated in the state by other people. How many people were going unprotected, or how many crimes, serious crimes, were being committed at the time that six officers to respond to a no registration or unregistered untitled vehicle and a driving while license improper. 6 officers. I would definitely like to remind Mr. Brown although not right, it's never ever right for an officer to use force. And I would like to commend the officers who were there on that date and time because they were very patient with you, very respectful to you. No one ever lost their patience. No one ever lost their cool. But have you seen the video where the young lady lost her life?
There it is, the final ruling. The judge doesn't yell, doesn't argue, and doesn't entertain any of the sovereign citizen mythology. She applies the law, step by step, and reaches the only outcome supported by the evidence, guilty on all 3 counts. This case is a perfect example of why courtroom theatrics never replace legal substance. You can redefine words, reject contracts, or invent new grammar systems, but none of that outweighs expired plates, a cancelled license, or refusing commands during a lawful stop. What we witnessed today was due process in action. The defendant was heard. The officer was heard. Evidence was considered. And the law prevailed, not ideology. If you found this breakdown as shocking, wild, and fascinating as we did, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe for more unbelievable courtroom moments and expert commentary.